What's up, folks? Wes Pruitt, 4-Star Sports Media. You are at the Tigers Den right now where we talk all things Memphis Tigers athletics. Man, we got another just great episode of campus coverage, full campus perspective as we're talking women's soccer, men's soccer, volleyball, women's hoops, softball, men's hoops, and of course football, all today on the Tigers Den right here live on the 4-Star Sports Media socials. That's Facebook, YouTube, and X. We appreciate everyone tuning in. If you like what you hear, you like what you're watching, please follow, like, subscribe, share. Let everyone know that you like it. Let everyone know who we are here at 4-Star Sports Media. We appreciate everybody watching and listening. Let's crank this music up and get into it, folks. All right, so you can see there on your screen for everyone watching on live right now, it says promo code, SeatGeek promo code, 4-Star Sports Media, if you're looking for tickets for concerts, football games, upcoming basketball games, upcoming college baseball games, professional baseball games, whatever it may be, including plays and more. We at 4-Star Sports Media use SeatGeek as our official ticket supplier, and we want you to do that as well. Go to SeatGeek. Find any ticket, $50 or more. Type in 4-Star Sports Media, and that will save you $20 off that ticket purchase. We appreciate everyone who is utilizing this. Like I said, we use it ourselves. All right, let's go ahead and get into the show. We appreciate everyone tuning in. This is the Tigers Den, and we always start with a little bit of Tigers trivia. If you were paying attention to our social media pages today, you have probably already seen this question that we're getting ready to ask. If you have not, then it may be something new to you. But let's go ahead and get the jingle. Let's go ahead and get the question up on screen, and let's go ahead and get a little Tigers trivia going right here on the Tigers Den. All right, as you folks can see there on the screen, what year was Memphis football first featured in a college football video game? College football video game. We'll get the answer at the end of the show. Let's go ahead and jump into it as we talk. I know I do understand there is a football photo on screen. I get that. But we'll go ahead and get the show started as we start with a little Memphis women's soccer talk as the Lady Tigers will hit the road to Birmingham, Alabama to begin American Athletic Conference plays at number 11, number 15, depending on what poll you're looking at. The number 11 or 15 ranked Memphis women's soccer team will hit the road to Birmingham, Alabama tomorrow night to take on the UAB Blazers. UAB comes in at 4-2, led by second-year head coach Lisa Mann. After 4 seasons of being with West Virginia State University, UAB and Memphis share one non-conference opponent this year, that being the Ole Miss Rebels. The Tigers won that game 2-1, and then the UAB Blazers would fall to the Rebels 1-0 at PNC Field. As a member of the AAC since its inception, Memphis was the first team in the conference to finish an entire conference season undefeated in 2023 when they finished 9-0. But the Tigers are currently 5-1 after taking a 1-0 loss to Tennessee on September 12th in an absolute incredible contest. There was supposed to be a matchup against UT Martin on the 15th, but it was rained out due to just a monsoon of rain. So when you look at the 5-1 now Memphis Tigers, they take on UAB. Um, I mean, Memphis right now holds the all-time record against UAB, 17-9-1, including 10 wins in a row and 2 victories last season. Since 2005, the Tigers are 15-1-1 against UAB. When you look at the Memphis right now, Memphis has an AAC record of 50, 11, and 7 since 2016. The Tigers have not taken a loss since the final game of the 2022 regular season when they fell to SMU before going on to win that conference tournament. The Tigers are also unbeaten in conference openers dating back to 2015 with 6 wins and 3 ties in the Brooks Monaghan era. They are also 15-4-5 in conference openers. UAB is one of 15 schools in Division One to score 3 penalty kicks this season, converting on all 3 of their attempts thus far. They have also conceded 2 penalties on 2 attempts. So wild stuff. Wild, wild, wild stuff. Memphis women's soccer kicking it off, man. Memphis women's soccer kicking it off, playing really well, playing really, really well right now. And speaking of another team, that's the men's soccer team. As hang on one second, sorry, that's the volleyball team, as they now head out west to take on Arizona State in a big matchup. So the University of Memphis will travel to Tempe, Arizona to play in the Webb Burbage Classic, September 19th through the 20th. The Tigers will we'll play on tomorrow, Thursday, at 2 p.m. against Montana State, and on Friday at 7 a.m. and at 7 p.m. 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. against Prairie View and Arizona State. Both Friday night's matches will be seen on ESPN Plus. All games are Central Standard Time. So once again, that's tomorrow, 2 p.m. against Montana State out in Tempe, Arizona for the volleyball team. And Friday, they got 2 matchups. First being 11 a.m. against Prairie View, and second being Arizona State at 7 p.m. The Tigers come into the tournament with a 5-4 record after coming from behind win against Indiana State in their final match of the Bluff City Showdown. Memphis has accumulated 393 kills, averaging 12.68 kills per set. Hannah Jones and Tabitha Tolke lead the team each with 27 kills last weekend. Tabitha also recorded the highest percentage of .324 while surpassing 1,000 career digs. Freshman Tiffany Snook followed behind with 19 kills. The Tigers also average 11.77 assists per set, led by Jordan Heatherly, who has recorded 275 assists on the season. Montana State comes in 1-7, coming off a 3-0 loss on this past Sunday to Iowa State, and is led by Madeline Cyber with 77 kills on the season. The Lady Panthers, that being Prairie View A&M, the Lady Panthers come in 2-8, and Arizona State comes in 8-1. So when you look at that, that really changes a lot because that's 3 really good teams. First of which, of course, you're going to look at the record and say, come on, Wes, really? Volleyball is volleyball, folks. Anybody can lose on any given night. We know this, right? So a lot of great things are happening all across the University of Memphis campus right now. And that's really why we call what our coverage what we call it. It's campus coverage for a reason. It's just because there's so many different teams going on, so many different great games going on. And speaking of that, let's go and jump over to Memphis Women's Hoops, where we see Coach Alex Simmons announce their non-conference schedule for the 2024-2025 season on this Monday. It begins on November 4th with a home matchup with Mississippi Valley State, and it includes 3 showdowns with Power 4 opponents. Simmons would say, quote, the priority of our schedule is preparation and pinpointing teams who will prepare us for March. Heading into her second season at the helm, she would also say, quote, we are ready to get the season started with a schedule that has challenges us in ways that we may be uncomfortable, but also prepare us for the postseason. It will be key for this group of seniors to come together, lead as one, and make sure we are focused on our team goals. After the starting game with Mississippi Valley State, the Tigers will travel to Starkville, Mississippi to take on Mississippi State on November 7th. They will then play four games at Elmerone Fieldhouse as they host Samford on November 10th, St. Louis on November 19th, and Murray State on November 23rd to conclude the November slate of games. There's also a road bout in there with Ball State on November 13th. After the Thanksgiving break, the Tigers will have 3 consecutive road trips as they travel out to East Tennessee on December 1st to take on East Tennessee. Then they travel down to Southern Mississippi to take on the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. And they travel to Troy to take on the Troy Trojans. The non-conference slate will culminate with 2 games at FedEx Forum, where Memphis will take on Tennessee on December 18th and Louisville on December 21st. In case you were wondering, on November 4th, they take on the Delta Devils from Mississippi Valley State University. All time, the Tigers are 6-0. The last time they met was a 91-54 victory on December 19th of 2019. This marks the 6th of 7th game against MVSU played at Elmerone Fieldhouse. And we're going to go all the way through it, folks, so get ready. November 7th, Mississippi State. Memphis leads the all-time series 18-4. Last time these two teams met, Mississippi State has actually won the last 5 contests, including the 81-63 over the Tigers last season. Samford on November 10th. Tigers lead Samford leads the all-time series 3 wins to 2. Memphis did beat Samford last game 53-48 on December 9th of 2018 with an average margin of victory of 7.4 points. 4 of the 5 contests have been decided by 8 or less points. Ball State, November 13th. Memphis won the only matchup back in 2023 in a 79-62 matchup where Jemiah Schutz would have 23 points on 4 of 8 shooting from deep. And then sophomore Hannah Riddick had 6 points and 8 rebounds. The Tigers and Billikens will meet again. I love watching these two schools play each other, including in men's basketball. I would like to get St. Louis back on the schedule there as well. The Tigers and Billikens, Memphis owns a 24-6 all-time record against the Billikens. The last time these two teams met up, it was 83-71, and we see Madison Griggs drop 19 on St. Louis. The Tigers won the first 11 contests of the series from 1991 to 1998. Obviously, they were in the same conference at that time. Memphis and Murray State. Tigers lead the all-time series 9-3. For those of you joining us, just now joining us, we're going over the Memphis women's hoops non-con. Tigers have not squared off against the Racers since 2009, with Murray State getting a win 69-59. East Tennessee, Tigers hold a 9-3 record against the Buccaneers. Memphis did get a overtime win against them 77-74. Southern Miss, Memphis leads the all-time record 30-25. These two teams are face off the second consecutive season after the Tigers won 69-67 last year on December 10th. Also in this, the Tigers have won 10 out of the last 14 contests against the Golden Eagles of Hattiesburg, dating back to 2008. On December 14th, Lady Tigers take on Troy. They faced off for the first time last season on December 2nd, when Memphis would get a season-high 100 points and a 100-88 victory. Then they take on the Tennessee Vols on December 18th. Tennessee has won 27 out of the last 28 contests last season. Memphis would take the then-ranked number 12, number 15th ranked Lady Vols into overtime before falling 84-74. Head coach Alex Simmons actually won 2 national championships as a player from 2004 to 2009 in Knoxville for the Lady Vols. And then the Tigers will take on Louisville on December 21st. Tigers have an all-time edge in this series, 23-21. Louisville has won the last 6 bouts with the Tigers, most recently being a 82-66 victory in 2014. So when you look at this Memphis women's basketball team, of course, last year, I thought they played really well. Um, I thought they competed, especially, you talk about that Tennessee game, for example. I thought this team really competed well all year long. You could see that they were really beginning to buy in to what Alex Simmons is trying to build in this program, and I think in time it's it's gonna come to fruition. It's gonna end up working for this team, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. I think that um, when you look at this team, their non-con schedule is built. I love it. I love that it's built like this. I like the non-con schedule. A lot of people said it's kind of maybe a little bit soft. I don't feel like it is at all. I think that this schedule is built to, like she said, like we read her quote. She said this schedule is built to get us to March. This schedule is, she said, quote, we are ready to get this season started with a schedule that will challenge us in ways that we may be uncomfortable, but also prepare us for the postseason. She would also say, quote, it pinpointing teams who will prepare us for March. That's what it's all about. Prepare for March. We'll see if they can do it. We'll see if they can do it. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk Memphis women's softball, as the softball team has released a non-con schedule that's going to be pretty exciting to go over. Then we'll get into some Memphis hoops talk, as it's maybe the clouds maybe aren't as dark as maybe we may have once thought for the Tigers. Then we'll get into Memphis football, who is Navy, give some keys to victory and more. All that right here on the Tigers Den on the 4-Star Sports Radio Network. We'll be right back. All right, folks, welcome back to the Tigers Den. Thank you for everybody watching and listening over at 4-Star Sports Media Socials. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. The Memphis women's softball program, program that we've been talking about a lot here at 4-Star Sports Media and will continue to do, has released their softball fall schedule for the 2024 season. Trainer Prater has not released it. It came out today. The Tigers feature 7 total dates throughout September and October. She would say, quote, my coaching staff has been welcomed with open arms by this team. Prater said, quote, our girls have been working hard to develop and grow on and off the field. She would go on to say, quote, this fall schedule has a combination of schools from the D1, D2, D3, NIA, NAIA, and junior college, and I'm eager to see us get some competition reps against a variety of opponents and win some games. Well, Coach, I'm ready for this team to win some games too. I'll tell you that for sure. Tiger will kick off the campaign with 6 straight home games, beginning with a September 29th contest with Rust College at 2 p.m. at the Tigers softball complex. Good old Rust College, man. Right there off Highway 7. The Tigers will then take on Union University on October 5th at 2 p.m. Then they will host a fall round robin. I'm sorry, they will take on Union College on October 5th at 2 p.m. And they'll take on Jackson State Community College on October 6th at 1 p.m. Prater will then host a fall round robin the following weekend. Memphis will play a doubleheader on October 12th against Christian Brothers, and then again on October then again against Rhodes College at 3 p.m. The Tigers will turn around and welcome Dyersburg State Community College the next day on October 13th at 1 p.m. before hitting the road for the only time in the fall as they make the trek down to Jackson, Mississippi to take on the Jackson State Tigers on October 20th at 1 p.m. The Tigers will wrap it all up on October 27th, right around spooky season, as they welcome the Arkansas State Red Wolves to Memphis on October 27th at 1 p.m. for their final game of the fall season. I'm very excited about this Memphis softball team. I think this coaching staff, just listening to how she talks, I've spoken with her on the phone, we've spoken through text message as well. These words right here stand out to me. My coaching staff has been welcomed with open arms by this team. And then she went on to say, quote, our girls have been working really hard to develop, to grow on and off the field. I'll say that again. Trina Prater, Memphis softball coach, said this, quote, our girls have been working hard to develop and grow on and off the field. You may look at this fall schedule and say, why is Memphis playing a D3 and an NIAA and a junior college team? Because she wants to let her program see a variety of levels, a variety of talents, and more. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think this team is also very talented as well. Let's go ahead and jump over to Memphis Hoops, as the Tigers would officially announced the hiring of Mike Davis and Nolan Smith as assistant coaches. If you listened to the show last week, we already talked about this as well. We've been talking about it for quite some time. Davis comes to Memphis after spending 6 seasons as the head coach at Detroit Mercy from 2018 to 2024. His coaching resume touts 35 plus years of experience on the sideline, including 24 years of head coaching experience with 14 postseason trips. His squads have recorded at least 20 wins 9 times. Hardaway would say, quote, I'm excited to have Davis as part of the program. He is a veteran coach and brings a wealth of mentality to the team with an impressive resume to back it up, both on and off the court. He would go on to say, quote, Mike has won at the highest level, achieved great success, and is a proven leader of young men. He will serve our program in the office, on campus, and in the community. We're happy to have Mike and his family in Memphis. We would also, when you look at these 2 hirings, it's very smart. Mike, very, very good coach. But then you go and you bring in Nolan Smith, former All-American, national champion, NBA draft pick. He joined the University of Louisville men's staff in 2022 under head coach Kenny Payne. Prior to Louisville, Smith was a member of the men's basketball staff at his alma mater, which was Duke, for the previous 6 seasons. Like I said, he was a consensus first-team All-American and ACC Player of the Year in 2011. He would help lead Duke to 3 consecutive ACC championships from 2009 to 2011 and the 2010 title in his 4 seasons. 2 big-time hirings by Memphis. I'm going to be very interested to see how it translates to on the court for this team. I want to see how it translates to the recruiting of this team. I want to see how it translates to cohesiveness with Penny Hardaway, the head coach on this team. That's what I want to see. Can they mesh? Because the Tigers released a non-conference schedule that is nothing weak. They now will face 8 teams that finished in the Nets' top 76 from a year ago. It also features 10 teams that were in the KenPom's top 100 teams, and no teams that finished outside the top 150 last season. You've got SEC opponents, back-to-back AAC road trips in December. It's fun. It's a fun schedule. Let's go ahead and get it started. So the Tigers will officially get kicked off on November 4th against Missouri. But before then, the Tigers will get some tune-up games in. So they'll start out with North Carolina in an exhibition game on October 15th in the Hoops for St. Jude Tip-Off Classic, which we've talked about, where Memphis will play North Carolina. The women's team will play South Carolina on that date. Then on October 28th, the Tigers will go play down in Huntsville, Alabama in the Rocket City Classic as they take on number 9 ranked Alabama. By the way, North Carolina is ranked number 8. The Tigers will start the season with number 158 ranked Missouri on November 4th. Then they'll go to UNLV on November 9th. When they go to UNLV, that's going to be a very, very interesting matchup, and one that, I mean, really you haven't seen in quite some time. Those two programs have not played in 27 years, as the Tigers would last make a stop out in UNLV to take on the Running Rebels on February 8th of 1986. Wow. So on November 15th, when the Tigers at home against Ohio University, the Tigers will embark on the longest road trip of the non-conference schedule. When they head out west, when they go out in the Maui. The Tigers will make their 6th appearance overall in the Maui tournament, but it's first since 2011. The Tigers will take on UConn in the tournament's opening game on November 25th. They will then face either Michigan State or Colorado in the second round, which will be on the 26th, before competing in the Thanksgiving Eve on November 27th. Potential matchups could include Auburn, Iowa State, North Carolina again, or possibly even Dayton. The Tigers' schedule is loaded in the month of December with four consecutive power conference matchups, including hosting Louisiana Tech and Arkansas State. They will return road trips to Clemson on December 14th, who was a Elite Eight participant last year, and Virginia on December 18th, before double dipping with home games against. Before double dipping with some home games against regional rivals from the Magnolia State, which would be Mississippi State on December 21st, and Ole Miss on December the 28th. So a lot of things happening right now for the Memphis basketball program, both men's and women's for that matter. And interesting matchups for Memphis men's basketball non-conference. Penny Hardaway goes and builds a very impressive non-conference schedule. Speaking of very impressive, right now the Memphis Tigers are 3-0 on the season. As we're just going to move past Florida State. Big win, love the win, great win. But this week means more. This is the week that I was more concerned about going into the season than I was Florida State. Back to back, we've been talking about this since the schedule came out. Back to back weeks where you have to go on the road as Memphis, and then the team you're playing has a bye. Now, albeit I didn't see a lot in Florida State that made me really that concerned about the bye, but Navy is not like that. They're 2-0 for the first time since 2019, and they've started 2-0 just 9 times in the last 30 years. So people may think, oh, they're just 2-0. 2-0 for Navy is a big deal. Also, the midshipmen rank number 7 in the country in the rushing per game with 280 yards per game, and have a pair of players averaging over 6 yards per carry. One of those is Blake Horvath, who we'll talk about in depth here shortly, and that's 7 yards per carry. And fullback, yes, folks, I did say fullback, Alec Texa with 6.3, both ranked top 35 in the country in yards per carry. Linebacker Colin Ramos ranks 4th in the country in tackles per game with 12.5, and they rank inside the FBS top 25 they're ranked in the top 25 in FBS and plus 3 turnover margin. When you look at them, who are they, right? Who is Navy? What do they do? How do they bring challenges to the University of Memphis this week on the road for Memphis? Well, who are they? They're coached by Brian Newberry, second-year head coach. He's 7-7 as a head coach both years at Navy, and he's 0-1 against the Tigers. When you look at Navy in their most previous game, that was last week, 38-11 win against Temple to start AAC play. Big time win for Navy last week. They've scored 87 points on the season. They've only allowed 32. They're scoring 43.5 points per game. This is not going to be just a walk in the park for Memphis. The Memphis defense, and I'll get to it when I get to my 3 keys to a win, but the Memphis defense is going to have to play sound. I made a statement on Facebook earlier this week, and people scoffed at it or whatever, but there's not many times that a university reaches out to you through media and says, hey, this week, nobody's allowed to take pictures of the defense. There's not many times that happens, folks. So when I say, I have a sneaky feeling there's something is going to be different from Jordan Hankins and this Memphis defense this week. When you look at it on the ground, look at the tail of the tape, right? Look at it on the ground. Memphis has only ran for 111 yards per game. Navy's ran for 280, as I just said. Passing per game, Tigers have passed for 247.5, while Navy has passed for 142.5. I'll say that again. Navy has passed for 142.5. They're averaging 423 yards a game, while Memphis is averaging 358.7. You look at third down conversions, it's a big thing with me. Look at third down conversions. Tigers are 17 of 36, while Navy is 15 of 30. Fourth downs, Tigers are 2 of 3, as well as Navy. And both teams are perfect in the red zone, as Tigers are 15 and 15, and Navy is 7-7. And speaking of the red zone, like I said, Navy is potent in this area. When you look at them, like I said, they're 7-7, all scores resulting in touchdowns. They have not scored a field goal. They've scored every single time in touchdowns. The Navy defense has only given up 3 scores and 6 opportunities, with just 2 resulting in touchdowns. The midshipmen ranked first in the country in red zone offense and 5th in the country in red zone defense. Memphis, yes, is 15 for 15, but they scored 10 touchdowns and have 5 field goals. So when you look at this, it's going to be a battle right there in the red zone. Who can stop someone in the red zone? Who can keep the other team out of the end zone? Yes, I understand Navy played Colgate and Temple. I get it. Let's be honest. There was really one opponent on this Memphis schedule so far that was really a challenge. And I think they dominated that challenge, and that was last week in Tallahassee. But this is going to be a focal point. This is going to be a area of impact in this football game. Can the Memphis defense keep Navy and the multiple faceted offense that they have out of the end zone? But then on the flip side of that coin, the Navy defense has only allowed 2 touchdowns in the red zone. So can Memphis score in the red zone? Also, some familiar faces in this game. So Cam Nichols, he's an offensive guard for Navy, sophomore. So he's expected to make his second career start on Saturday. And he's going to face a very familiar face on the other sideline, as his brother Jalen is an offensive lineman at Memphis after coming over from South Carolina, if we spoke about. He's listed as Jalen's currently listed as his co-starter at left tackle for the Tigers. So that's a very cool little storyline there. I like that. Brother and brother. I'd love to see them. I'm sure they'll take some form of picture on the sideline. I don't know if schools allow jersey swaps and stuff like that, but that is pretty cool to see brother and brother go against each other um, in college football. And I mean, it's also conference conference play. Navy's 1-0 right now in conference. Memphis needs to start 1-0 in conference. Also, when you look at the Memphis redshirt junior linebacker Bronson White, is the nephew of former Navy great slot back Sean White, who was there from 2005 to 2008. White is currently listed as the second team Sam linebacker for the Tigers, and he also plays on special teams. Sean White ranks ninth on Navy's career rushing list with 2,311 yards and 20 touchdowns. He averaged a school record 8.9 yards per carry in his career, which was from 2005 to 2008. He also holds a school record for rushing yards in a single game with 308 yards against Towson in 2008. Speaking of rushing attack, it's time to give my 3 keys to a win for Memphis, or 3 keys to a Tigers win. And it starts right there. If you're the Memphis defense, you have to be disciplined and you have to contain. When you look at this Navy offense, right now they're averaging 43.5 points per game. That's 17th best in the country, folks. Memphis defense is ranked 16th in the nation, giving up just 9.7 points per game. And a big reason for that is the offensive line. Navy is tied for 15th in the country in sacks allowed with 0.5 and tied for first in the tackles for loss with 1. Now, when you look at that, Memphis is 6th right now in the nation in tackles for loss with 9.3. Number 1 in the nation in average yards per completion. Navy is number 1 in the nation with average yards per completion with 19. I just said it earlier, folks. They're averaging over 100. They're averaging 142 yards passing a game. Yes, they're going to line up and smash mouth you. Yes, they're going to line up and hit you with multiple just window dressing. It's like fixing a salad and just pouring dressing on it. There's going to be a lot of different smoke screen stuff this offense for Navy is going to do. A lot of motions. They're also going to throw the ball. And they score quickly. If you don't believe me, they scored a touchdown on the first play of the drive 4 times in the first 2 games. The senior fullback Daba Fafana scored on a 49-yard run against Bucknell, while Brandon Chapman, a junior, scored on a 42-yard screen pass from Blake Horvat. The 4 touchdown scores on the first play of the game are the most in FBS. First play of the drive, this team, statistically speaking, likes to take strikes. They scored on back-to-back runs of 62 yards and 65 yards against Temple. The quarterback was one of those, Horvath, who we're going to talk about in just a second. Because if you don't hurt this kid, if you don't hurt him, Horvath will absolutely tear you up. He's a junior, and he will absolutely tear you up. Now, he did win the quarterback battle over Braxton Woodson, who's a sophomore. It was a pretty close contest, but he made Horvath would make his first career start last October against North Texas, ran for 88 yards on 18 carries. He would enter the game against Memphis last year with 10:47 left in the game, rushed for 49 yards on 7 carries. When you look at him against Temple last week, career high 122 yards, 3 touchdowns on 15 carries, while completing 5 of 9 passing for 112, career high 112 yards and a touchdown. According to ESPN Stats and Information, Horvath's the first Navy player to throw 3 touchdown passes and in the first 2 games of the season. On the year, he's ran for 155 yards, 3 touchdowns on 22 carries. That's 7.5 yards a carry, which ranks 22nd nationally. He's completed 12 of his first 21 passes for 220 yards. That's 18 yards per catch, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's been responsible for 40 of the 87 points in Navy's 2 games this season. His 20 points responsible per game is tied for 11th in the country. If you don't herd this kid, I say kid, he's a junior. If you don't hurt him, he's going to hurt you. You've got to, like I just talked about, you've got to play disciplined. Your eyes have to be disciplined. Play in your zone. If you're in a zone, play where you're supposed to be. But watch, keep your eyes on this young man at quarterback, folks. Because I promise you, if you don't, he will hurt you. He's accounted for 40 of their 87 points. He can run it. He can throw it. I'll say it again. According to ESPN stats and information, Horvath is the first Navy player to throw 3 touchdown passes in the first 2 games of the season. Last week, ran for a career-high 122 yards and 3 touchdowns on 15 carries and completed 5 of 9 passes for a career-high 112 yards and a touchdown passing. I'll say it again. Navy passes for 142 yards a game. They run for 280. You've got to play disciplined football. You can't get, yes, trust me, they're going to lull you to sleep with that fullback dive. But you've got to contain this quarterback. They've scored 43 points a game. They've only given up 16. They're averaging 43 points a game. They're averaging just 16 points a game. They've scored 87. They've given up 32. They're 50% on third downs. I'll say it again. Every single touchdown in the red zone for this Navy midshipman football team has been, every trip to the red zone has been a touchdown. But defensively, they've only given up 2 touchdowns in the red zone. Number 1 in the country in red zone offense. Number 5 in red zone defense. The red zone is going to be a key in this football game. I said it last week with Florida State. I'll say it again. The trenches is where this game's going to be won. Memphis has to be aggressive in the trenches. If you can get penetration on an option offense team and you can push those linemen in the backfield, it disrupts everything immediately. Like I said in the article about Jordan Hankins, what we learned is Jordan Hankins likes to roll the dice. Very, very, very interested to see what he does this week against Navy. I think we're going to see some exotic blitzes. I think we're going to see some exotic looks. I would love to see the old disco or whatever formation they call it, where people just move around. Just something. Something's coming defensively from Memphis, as I stated earlier in the show. Appreciate everybody watching and listening. You're tuned into the sports. I'm sorry, not the sports, but the Tigers Den. right here on 4 Star Sports Media. We appreciate it. Talking Memphis football right now. 3 keys to a Memphis win. I mean, when you look at it, it's going to come down to defense on both sides, obviously. Who can run the ball, who can stop the run. But then if you're Memphis, can you continue to pass the ball? But you've got to stop the run. If you're Memphis defensively, you have to stop the run, but you cannot sleep on the pass. They're scoring 43 points a game for a reason, folks. They're scoring 48 points for a reason. And I think it's going to be a close football game. At the end of the day, I think this game's going to be very close. I think it comes down to maybe Memphis has the ball. I'm sorry, Navy has the ball. They're driving to score, possibly even go for a win, and there's a turnover at the end of the game. Could I be wrong? Yeah, Memphis could blow them out of the water for all I know. This Navy team is just different to me. Now let's be honest. They're 2-0, and their fans honestly deserve to be a little bit excited about this football game. I know their fans are excited. I've listened to their podcast. I've went and looked in message boards. I know they're excited about this game, as they should be. Like I said, they've only been 2-0 as a football program. Nine times in the last 30 seasons. 2-0 Memphis. Sorry, 3-0 Memphis. 2-0 Navy. It's going to be a heck of a game. When you look at it from inside the series is concerned, this marked the 10th all-time meeting between the two programs. Tigers lead the all-time series 6-3 and have won the last 5 matchups. The series is also tied games apiece when playing in Annapolis, 2 games apiece. The last time Memphis was up there, it was an emotional game for the Tigers. The Tigers are coming off an emotional win in Florida State, in Tallahassee against Florida State. Can they get ready for a different Navy football team? Navy's 2-0. I've gone over the stats. This team is a team you have to be ready for. You can't take this game lightly. I think the Tigers get a win, 42-38 over Navy. I think they get a win, 42-38 over Navy. I do. All right, folks, let's go ahead and jump over to a little trivia. Let's get to the music, and there it is. All right, you know the jingle. All right, so the trivia question is, Tigers trivia today is, what year was Memphis football first featured in a college football video game? And that answer would be 1996. It was on Sega Genesis. It was on Nintendo 60, or it was on Super Nintendo as well. It was NCAA College Football 1996. It was just 96 is what it was called. But incredible football game. If you pay attention to our social medias, you will see that I was playing on a emulator last night. I was playing the 97 version. But I've got a season going with Memphis right now in that game. A lot of fun. Very old school, very simple video games. But appreciate everybody watching and listening. And as always, guys, it's real simple. It's campus coverage. That's what we do here. We bring campus coverage to the University of Memphis. We enjoy it. We love it. And once again, folks, if you need tickets, head over to SeatGeek now. Type in 4-Star Sports Media in the promo code. That promo code will save you $20 off your first ticket purchase. We appreciate everybody watching and listening. We'll be back tomorrow with Blake Hogan, the boys, as they talk Arkansas Razorbacks. And then we'll be back on this weekend. We'll break down college football on Sunday as well. All that and more right here on the 4-Star Sports Media Network. And as always, folks, go Tigers.